Have you ever woken up and felt like the world was already ahead of you, even before your feet touched the floor? Alex did. Every single morning. At 16, he should have been full of energy, dreaming about possibilities, ready to face the day. Instead, he felt heavy, drained, like he had been carrying the weight of 1,000 invisible tasks overnight. Today was no different. His alarm blared at 6:45 a.m., and the buzzing phone next to him seemed to mock him. He squinted at the bright screen and groaned. 8 hours of sleep, and yet, exhaustion had already claimed him. He rolled out of bed, narrowly avoiding the pile of laundry that had grown into a mountain by his closet. His desk was a chaotic battlefield: notebooks, half-used pencils, forgotten assignments, and an open laptop with 20 tabs of unfinished homework. His backpack, still unpacked from yesterday, spilled papers onto the floor. Each object whispered, in its own way, "You're behind, you're failing, you're not enough." Alex sighed, rubbing his temples. "Why am I so tired all the time?" he muttered, almost to himself. Downstairs, the smell of toast barely registered. His mom was bustling around the kitchen, trying to get him out the door. "Alex, hurry, you're going to be late for school again." Yeah, I'm coming," he mumbled, dragging himself toward the cereal box. He didn't even notice he was late until he looked at his reflection in the mirror, eyes rimmed with fatigue. Hair sticking out in all directions. Shoulders slumped. He forced a small smile. But it felt empty. Another day of school, homework, club meetings, social expectations, and the endless scroll of social media notifications awaited him. He swallowed hard. On the bus, Alex pulled out his phone. He scrolled through Instagram and saw his classmates' posts, trophies, party photos, perfect selfies. Some of his friends had already started winning awards, getting letters of recognition, and experiencing things he hadn't yet. Each swipe tugged at something inside him. A quiet voice whispering, "You're behind, you're not enough." By the time he arrived at school, Alex's chest felt tight. He trudged through the hallways, past lockers plastered with flyers, the noise of conversations and lockers slamming echoing in his head. He tried to focus on the math problem on his worksheet, but his thoughts drifted. Did I reply to that group chat? Did I study enough for history? Do I even belong here? Lunch was no reprieve. Alex sat with friends, but the conversation felt hollow. Laughter sounded forced. Small talk felt exhausting. Every minute reminded him of his own fatigue. He felt disconnected, from his friends, from his schoolwork, from himself. That evening, after a long day of classes and practice, Alex trudged home. He collapsed on his bed, scrolling mindlessly through his phone. Videos, memes, and status updates blurred together. That was when he stumbled upon a short clip about a man named Mr. Carter, a retired martial artist known for his discipline, clarity, and boundless energy. The narrator spoke of how Mr. Carter never seemed drained, even in the face of grueling physical challenges and personal hardships. Alex paused. Something inside him stirred. How could someone face countless challenges, dedicate himself to mastering his craft, and still move through life with calm energy? It seemed impossible, and yet, there was something compelling about the idea. The next day, Alex found himself standing outside the community center where Mr. Carter taught fencing. His heart pounded as he knocked on the door. When Mr. Carter answered, he was quiet, tall, and calm. He studied Alex for a long moment, as if peering through the boy's exhaustion straight to his spirit. "Can you teach me?" Alex asked, his voice small but sincere. Mr. Carter nodded slowly. "Energy isn't found in sleep, caffeine, or short bursts of motivation," he said. "It comes from alignment. When your actions, your goals, and your purpose move in the same direction. That's what I'll show you." Alex swallowed. He didn't know what that meant yet, but he knew he needed it. He nodded. And so, Alex's journey began. The first few weeks of training with Mr. Carter were humbling for Alex. Fencing was nothing like he had imagined. It wasn't flashy, and it wasn't about winning or showing off. Instead, every session demanded attention to the smallest details: foot placement, wrist alignment, the rhythm of a swing. Focus on the movement, not the outcome, Mr. Carter said one evening, watching Alex fumble a lunge. If your mind is elsewhere, every strike is wasted. Energy leaks wherever attention is divided. Alex wiped sweat from his forehead. Frustrated. But, I want to get better faster. Isn't that the goal? Mr. Carter shook his head. His gray eyes calm but piercing. You want results. Yes. But chasing results is different from mastery. One is temporary. The other lasts a lifetime. Discipline, repetition, rhythm, these are what give energy. Over the next days, Alex noticed how easily he carried mental clutter everywhere he went. Homework assignments, social obligations, endless text messages. Each one pressed on him like invisible weights. He thought of Mr. Carter's words and realized that his life outside the fencing hall mirrored his struggles with energy. Everything extra, everything unnecessary, slowed him down. So what do I do? Alex asked after practice, leaning against the wall, exhausted but curious. Start by clearing space. Mr. Carter replied, your room, your backpack, your schedule, even your mind. Anything that doesn't serve you is a leak. You can't move freely carrying dead weight. That evening, Alex went home with determination. He emptied his backpack onto the floor, sorting each notebook and folder. Some were important, others hadn't been touched in months. He stacked the essentials neatly and discarded the rest. His desk was next, a mess of papers, old sketches, and scattered pens. With deliberate care, he organized, throwing out anything he hadn't used in weeks. For the first time in months, he could see the surface of his desk clearly. It felt lighter. Alex also began reevaluating his commitments. He had joined multiple clubs and teams at school, trying to be involved everywhere. But he realized that many of these obligations added little to his growth or joy. The following week, he spoke quietly with his parents about stepping back from a few extracurriculars. I just need to focus, he explained. I want to do fewer things, but give them my best. His parents nodded slowly, supportive but cautious. As long as you're happy and learning. Alex, his mom said, you don't have to do everything. As he simplified his life, Alex noticed small but significant changes. He moved faster, thought clearer, and even felt moments of lightness he hadn't experienced in months. But the most profound lesson came during practice. Discipline over motivation, Mr. Carter said one morning. As the boy struggled through footwork drills, motivation comes and goes. It is unreliable. Discipline is the rhythm that carries you, even when motivation fails. Alex frowned. But it's boring. How do you keep going when it's the same thing over and over? Mr. Carter smiled faintly. Because repetition becomes rhythm. Rhythm becomes part of who you are. You stop relying on feelings. You become the action itself. Alex tried to absorb this, though it sounded impossible. The next few days, he forced himself to practice consistently. Even when tired, even when frustrated, slowly, he began to notice a strange phenomenon. The same exercises that had once felt exhausting now felt natural. His movements flowed, his footwork became almost instinctive. Practice was no longer draining, it energized him. He started applying this rhythm to other parts of his life. Homework was done in dedicated blocks, free from distraction. Morning routines became steady and predictable. Even walking home from school turned into a meditative rhythm. Each step deliberate, each breath measured. He was learning the quiet power of focus and repetition. One afternoon, after an especially intense practice, Alex sat with Mr. Carter on a bench outside the fencing hall. Sweat dripped down his face, and his chest heaved. I feel different, Alex admitted. Like I'm not just working harder, I'm lighter somehow, but I don't understand why. Mr. Carter nodded. That's because energy isn't just physical. It's mental and spiritual. When your actions, your focus, and your rhythm align, your energy multiplies. You stop leaking it everywhere. You become unstoppable. In a way. Alex stared at the ground, thinking. Months ago, he had been exhausted all the time, burdened by distractions and obligations. Now, he could feel a spark, subtle but undeniable, of the energy that had seemed impossible to reach. The boy who had struggled to keep up with life was beginning to feel alive again, not from excitement, but from clarity, purpose, and the steady rhythm of daily action. And he knew this was only the beginning. Weeks turned into months, and Alex began to notice something deeper than improved technique or better grades. It wasn't just that he had more energy, it was that he could finally feel present. Fencing, once a stressful and competitive activity, had become a form of meditation. Each strike, each step, Each breath became a practice in focus and calm. "Alex," Mr. Carter said one crisp afternoon after practice. "Do you see how your movements have changed?" He gestured to the boy's posture and the fluidity of his swings. "You're not forcing them. You're not rushing. You're moving with intention. That stillness within motion. That's where true energy comes from." Alex nodded slowly. He felt it in a way words couldn't capture. Before, he had been in a constant rush, rushing through classes, rushing through assignments, rushing through life itself. Now, even as he moved, he felt grounded. His mind wasn't racing ahead, and his thoughts weren't pulling him backward. The chaos that had once defined his days had been replaced by a quiet current of clarity. At home, he noticed the effect everywhere. Doing homework no longer felt like a fight. Walking to the park became a chance to observe the world, to notice the rhythm of leaves rustling in the wind, or the crunch of gravel underfoot. Even small tasks, like washing dishes or feeding the dog, became mindful exercises in focus and presence. Each act, when performed with awareness, no longer drained him. Instead, it replenished him. One evening, after journaling his thoughts in the golden light of sunset, Alex reflected on how far he had come. The boy who had been weighed down by constant exhaustion, who had felt trapped under obligations, expectations, and endless distractions, had learned to reclaim his energy. He realized that it wasn't about shortcuts, energy drinks, brief bursts of motivation, or superficial accomplishments, but about alignment. His actions, goals, and values now moved in the same direction. Every choice he made, every habit he built, and every moment he dedicated to focus strengthened him. The final lesson came in the form of a challenge, a city-wide fencing competition. Alex's opponent was skilled and confident, known for precision and speed. As he faced the boy across the strip, Alex felt the familiar surge of nervous energy. But this time, something was different. He didn't focus on winning. He didn't dwell on how others would judge him. His mind was clear. He focused on each move, each lunge, each counter, as if the world had slowed down. The match ended quickly. Alex had won, yes, but it was not the trophy or the applause that mattered. He felt the calm, steady energy that had carried him through months of disciplined practice, simplified routines, and mindful presence. He had learned the power of living in alignment, of detaching from outcomes, and of finding stillness even in movement. Later that evening, Mr. Carter put a hand on his shoulder. "You've done more than just win a match, Alex. You've learned something far more important. Energy is endless when your mind, body, and spirit move together. Mastery, rhythm, clarity, these aren't just for fencing. They're for life." Alex smiled, feeling a quiet warmth spread through him. For the first time in months, he didn't feel exhausted. He felt awake, alert, and ready, not just for the next competition, but for life itself. And the truth was simple. Energy isn't something you chase externally. It doesn't come from shortcuts, temporary thrills, or trying to impress others. It comes from living your own path, focusing on what matters, and letting go of everything else. It comes from rhythm, discipline, stillness, and alignment. Alex's journey had taught him that exhaustion is not a permanent state, it's a signal. A signal that you are out of balance, that your actions are scattered, that your mind and body are moving in different directions. When you listen to that signal, simplify, focus, and move with purpose, energy returns, and it returns stronger than ever.